So we'll call the select board meeting to order for Monday, August 10th. I don't even know what time it is. 7 o'clock, 7 something.
7:05.
Okay, first order of business, review agenda for addition, removal, or adjustments. Anything, Val?
Well, my only suggestion was if people are zooming in for the emerald ash borer topic, which is later on in the agenda, but if there's a number of people signed in for that, we might want to consider rearranging that. But I'm not seeing anybody else other than Alex, sorry, tuned in for that at this point. So it might not warrant being rescheduled to be able to tune in with those folks ahead of time of all those other agenda items that they might not be interested in sitting.
Okay. I mean, we can put it to the top if you want, and that way. Alex, are you staying for anything else or just that?
Just that, but it's fine. You can keep the schedule as is. I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
All right. Okay, Zoom, everybody's here. Please mute yourself, and then as you talk, we'll raise your hand or send us a chat so we can keep in contact. Joel, did you want to say something? Oh, you were just waving. Okay. Okay, public forum. Anybody who would like to say something less than 5 minutes that's not currently on the agenda? And Chris, that would be you. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you again. So I just wanted to report out very briefly on last Monday evening's community conversation. So I want to thank a lot of people, including the select board, for giving us the go-ahead to do that, and Valerie for getting the word out, helping put together the agenda, all the rest. Sean and Meredith set up all this technology, so we had Holly Hall going plus a Zoom meeting at the same time. And Valerie was helping keep track of people because we had about 45, 50 people, I think, all together over the course of the 2 hours. It ran the full 2 hours. And I thought it was, from my perspective, it was a really productive meeting, covered quite a few topics. And so I'm working now I have 4 pages of notes and typing them up and sharing them with Valerie. Also want to thank the chief. Sorry, he's on my thank you list. He was there and fielding questions as well as sharing information. So I would just say it was a really exact way you would hope for, a respectful, positive conversation about issues related to sort of a community sense of what makes for a safe, secure community and the role of policing within it. So it wasn't just policing only. And I would say in terms of what's next is I'll be comparing notes with the chief and with Valerie, sort of teasing out maybe 3 or 4 different themes that came out and proposing future community conversations about those themes. And so some of the things that came up were, we'll sort them all, but I'd say in general, there was sort of a big picture of community needs. Like, what would you want in your community to make it feel like a safer, healthier, more secure place? And kind of an inventorying process. People, as you all predicted, I think, there was conversation about town versus village, policing, taxing, scope of service, and we did a little of that, but tried not to let that become the dominant topic. So clearly there's an interest in town in having that conversation, more on that conversation. And then I'd say the other term that came up was, sort of reimagining policing. And I think that meant, well, it meant more than one thing to more than one person. And so the interesting thing will be creating a space where people can come back together again and talk more about it. And I'd say my take on what that meant was there are social services, there are services delivered through schools, there's community activities and events, and neighborhood groups. You knit them all together and you end up with a strong, resilient community. So people are interested. was just a very positive meeting where people, I'd say, my shorthand for it would be, we're doing quite well, and how can we do a little better? So that's my report. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Chris, I thought you did an excellent job, by the way. Thank you very much for doing that.
Well, my pleasure. Thanks.
Okay. Next order of business, set the fiscal year 2021 municipal tax rate.
Does
Is
any,
that you, Jen? You want to give us the upside, the downside?
Well, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. This is just everything about the budgets that have, that were voted and approved back in March. And then the education tax rate is something that's provided to us from the state. So that's not anything that we per se can change. So I don't know. I mean, I guess, do people have questions?
I was a little confused by the numbers. Typically, we get a total. And do you have a total?
A total what?
Yeah, that came out as an attachment Val sent. I don't have it. That's what I was just looking for, was my email with that on.
Was it not the spreadsheet that I sent you, Valerie? Did I not?
The one I got with just listed the different categories and how much they were on a tax rate. I didn't get a total. Typically, we have a total resident, non-resident, homestead, and what's the other one?
That's strange.
I
Homestead
think-
and non-residential, same thing, or not same thing, but because I guess I thought what I had sent had that. Let me just see what I sent Valerie, assuming she probably just forwarded it.
I'm trying to figure out how to share my screen. I always have a problem with this.
Because
So
I gave the comparison one. Come on.
the one that I have has the current, previous, dollar change, and then percentage change. And I guess it's, as Peter said, it's sort of missing that final tally, unless I'm reading this wrong.
Let me just open mine because I can't.
Okay.
I can't do it from memory. I'm sorry.
Now, for your sharing, just open up the document and then. when you do share-
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I can do it on this computer. I have two computers in front of me, so I'm doing it on my other.
Could
See
you get
if
a third, please?
I have a phone.
I'm trying to figure it out. Hang on here.
Right. So,
No,
Val, so open.
Let's see.
I was going to say if
Go ahead,
Valerie
Ian, I'm
has
not
it.
gonna interrupt.
I was going to say
Oh.
if Valerie has it, if she opens up the document and then do share, and then from all the windows, you should be able to pick the one that you want to share. In theory.
Oh, in theory.
Yeah. So make sure the document's open first, and then do the screen sharing.
Okay, bear with me here.
Jennifer, question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joel.
Said that we had the state education tax and then there's the local education tax, right? If it's above and beyond.
Wait, say that one more time, Joel.
There's the educational statewide tax rate, and then there's, if Mount A spends more than what this takes in, the statewide, they have to have the local education tax. Is that
Right. And that rate is all one rate combined, which is on this sheet. So I guess, Peter,
okay?
based on what Valerie's sharing, like the total homestead rate would be that 2.4478. That's in purple.
Yeah, those are the numbers I was looking for.
Okay. Sorry. I guess I'm sorry. I must not have sent a good document.
No, we
this
got
is the
that.
one you sent.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
the one
okay.
you sent. We got that.
Oh, okay.
Must be. It's not the one I opened.
Oh, okay.
Like,
And then
it's error on my end. It's not necessary.
No.
Just because I didn't see it doesn't mean it wasn't sent.
No, that's fine. And then if Valerie scrolls down a little bit, we can see the police district here, that 0.2980. And then the gray bars are the police district, homestead, and non-residential tax rates.
Okay.
And then the municipal tax rate without the police district is that 72.72.
And then when do we get the educational rate?
They got it to us probably about the middle of July.
I was gonna say, I got an
So
email
That's
with
on the
it. I saw
website
it.
too. Hang on. I'm gonna stop sharing for a moment. Hang on. And try this differently.
Oh, there it is. I got it. Sorry. There we go. Okay. Right. It was a separate document. Sorry, I missed that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
And that's
Alrighty. Lovely.
included in Jen's assessment.
I was gonna say, I thought I saw that there because
Yeah.
I was really scared when she said it wasn't there because we were already at $2 and something.
Yeah, no, it is. So that's included in that $2.44, almost 45 cents.
Yeah, it's the bottom line it's the line right above the total, right? Or it
Correct.
was.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. State homestead tax rate.
Correct. So
Uh-oh.
kind of a lot goes into that because as Joel said, you get your blanket education tax rate, and then we approve a budget, and then once that budget is approved, then they do some nice little intricacies, which I've never really been able to follow or taken the time to do so. But some things that play a role in that are our CLA. And because our CLA has dropped, significantly in 2 years, that changes it a little bit. I wouldn't say it's the most highly influential thing, but that 96.6% that was at 100%, has something to do with our portion.
Jen,
Yeah,
remind me
we were over 100% at one point. I didn't understand how that works, but that's.
It's all your last three. So,
The state
Ian.
says you should be.
well, my guess is, Ian, you were going to ask what the CLA was, or
Yes.
a reminder or an explanation. So the CLA is your common level of appraisal, which is based on
Oh, right.
sales from the last 3 years. And
Yeah.
what's happening right now is it's kind of a seller's market, and people are
Right.
getting basically kind of what their asking prices for homes. And so the reappraisal that we completed in 2018 is already starting to become dated within a couple of years.
Yeah,
So does that mean that's
Jen, at what point does the state say you have to do an reappraisal? What's the level percentage? Do you remember?
Valerie's at 85,
80%.
80.
80. Okay.
80%. Then you just gotta have a plan in place. You could have a plan that stretches out 5 years, but by 80%, you got to have a plan in place, ready to reappraise.
Mhm.
Thanks, Joel, for that. I actually wasn't sure about the answer.
So if we need to make a motion to set the tax rate, do we need to set it out as you have it set out, Jen, the homestead tax rate is this, or can we just say based on the tax rates are what they are based on this document?
Yes, as proposed by the town treasurer.
So
You wanna
Yeah,
make
we
that motion?
typically the motion is those 3 lines and what
Right.
the rate
They
is.
include those numbers, yeah.
So I'll make
Somebody
that
wanna make a
motion to
motion?
set the tax rate, the homestead tax rate at 2.4478, the non-resident tax rate at 2.4125, and the police district tax rate at, you got to scroll up, please.
Scroll down, Val.
At 0.2980.
I'll second that.
I also have to have the wait a minute.
The police district homestead tax rate is 2.7458. And the non-residential tax rate in the police district is 2.7105.
Those were the two I needed.
Ian, you still second that?
I do.
Okay. Any
Is
more
that-
discussion?
Is the number right off the box what last year's was?
Correct.
The 2 point? Okay.
Yep.
3.
Very good.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye or raise your hand or. Okay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, consider Bristol revolving loan fund application for new business startup for Chris and Samantha Morrissey.
I'm going to add that that the select board did not receive any direct application materials, and the minutes of the revolving loan fund committee were not disclosed publicly because they may contain some personal information. So from the public's perspective, there's really not a lot of information other than what's provided in the TA report.
My only question is that there's two different names on the, I think it was Chris and Mary and Chris and Samantha. Which
Yeah,
is
I think I saw that, Peeker. I think Sharon was trying to read Fred's handwriting, and I think she wrote Amy instead
It was
of
Amy.
Sam or
Amy,
Samantha.
yes.
So we can get that fixed. Sorry about that, Sam.
Well, the second part of it was right. I just wanted clarification.
No problem. Actually, Amy is what my parents almost named me other than Samantha, so it was quite insightful.
Really? So
How did
both are
Sharon
correct?
know that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we're very happy to answer any questions, and if it would be helpful, we have a full business plan that I could send you as soon as I log off here. Happy to share that all with you, but also happy to answer questions now.
Sam, I assume that Fred had called you and Chris after the meeting, correct? Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Sam?
Yes.
Or any questions in general?
Michelle, is there any, was Samantha, hi, Joel here. I was wondering, was there any question about the residential part of it, the staying in Bristol for the 10 years? Like we've had a few businesses that have gotten some startup money and then, you know, Beehive, one
Wrap.
that moved to Middleburg.
No question at all. Yeah, no, our plans are to stay in Bristol for sure. We might need to change locations because we grow, but if we do, it would be in Bristol, and we would want to keep that location as like a satellite anyway, because we think it's pretty prime location right on 116. But yeah, no plans to leave Bristol at all.
Darla, did you have a question?
Yeah, just looking at the notes here, and just so it's a bike shop is what I'm hearing, bike and sporting equipment. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I can give you all just a little overview, considering that you haven't received any of the material. Might be helpful.
That'd be great.
So Full Motion Outdoor Sports is the name of the business. It's a bike and ski shop. So we'll be offering all of your kind of traditional bike and ski services. We also plan on doing retail for the bike and ski, and then rentals. And as we grow, we hope to also offer kind of short tours, so day trips or guided tours. That primarily would be on bicycles, but we're definitely open to other kind of outdoor things. So we're starting with the bike and ski. We have all of the tools and equipment we need for the bicycles. We have all of the ski tuning equipment on order. Sure, and confirmed. So it's being delivered. It's coming. And then in the future, we want to grow to kind of meet various outdoor needs beyond that as well, and carry retail and soft goods. And really, in addition to kind of your traditional bike shop, what we really want to do is make it kind of a community space for everyone to come together over a love of the outdoors. So the community is a really big aspect of it for us. And Chris Morrissey, my husband, if hopefully some of you or many of you know him, he grew up in Bristol. So that's why there's no question at all that we would leave the Bristol community. But we're really excited. We think it's something that the community is really looking for and needing. We also have been working really closely with the rec department on different programs. So that's part of kind of our community orientation as well, helping with the mountain bike camps that have been running this summer. Thanks to Meredith's great work. And so we have a great partnership forming there. And then we also have been working with the community on some mountain bike trails over at New Leaf Organics Farm to kind of support the shop and bring people into town and support the community. And we're really also looking forward to working a lot with the local businesses and really supporting the stores and the restaurants that we have in town and recommending people to visit those on their while they're stopping by. And yeah, we're really excited about it.
Thank you for that.
Sam, what was it that made you choose that location?
Well, that's a good question. Bristol, obviously, well, not obviously, but Bristol was always kind of our focal area. So that's always where we wanted to be. And then Nancy and Greg Orvis actually approached us with the opportunity for the building. They had the space open and they kind of envisioned it as being a good location, and we agreed. So we've been talking with them for, I'd say 8 months to a year now on kind of plans of what that could look like and what we would need to put in place. And it's a really great location, just being that it's on the way to the mountains. It's on the way in and out of town. So if you're kind of living in Bristol and then you're going to the mountain, you can either drop your equipment off on your way home or drop it on the way, or pick it up, excuse me, on the way to the mountains. Same with bikes. Having the Hogback Brewery there also is very beneficial. Of course, we've been talking to Sam and Jamie about that and creating more energy at that end of town. And then we can really say that it's the gateway to the Green Mountains being there because we're right at the beginning of town. So we think it's a superb location. We're psyched.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that location's great. And I think, speaking with my Bristol core hat on, a bike shop, ski shop, that kind of thing it's been needed for, a number of years in Bristol. And it was something that we've sort of tried to pursue and try to get people interested. So I think, this kind of business is what is really needed here. So I'm very excited that this is happening. And I spoke with Carol Wells, who's on the revolving loan committee before this meeting, and just asked her how she felt it was. And she said that you had a superb business plan. So I feel very confident.
Thanks, Ian. Appreciate that. And I think what may be helpful for your decision making, just practically speaking, because you haven't seen the business plan, is for those of you that maybe don't know Chris, he's been in the bike and ski industry for 25, close to 30 years plus, and actually started his career at BBT. So he's been kind of here in Bristol for a while and in the industry for a while, and he managed the shop at Ski Rack, so he's very accustomed to kind of managing a high volume space. He's been a bicycle tour guide for 25 years, so he has that experience as well. Worked at various ski resorts, so we're coming fully equipped with lots of experience and know what we're getting into.
Okay, any more questions? Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal.
Okay, somebody second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor of accepting the Bristol Revolving Loan Fund's recommendation for Chris and Sam Morthy, say aye, or raise your hand, wave, whatever. Okay. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Who seconded that? Just
Peeker, I think. Peeker, Darla. Sorry, Darla.
Darla.
thanks.
Perfect.
Thanks so
Congratulations.
much, Darla.
We're really excited, and we promise to serve the community well.
Great. Thank you.
Take care. I'm gonna log
See you on the
off.
roads.
See you on the road.
Yeah.
Okay, next order. Consider Jackman's Fuel Pre-Buy offer of fuel for town operations for the period of September 1, 2020 through April 30, 2021.
So did folks have a chance to review the proposal and the recommended adjustments from the teen center and the town garage?
I didn't see it, Valerie. This is just for propane only, right?
Correct. Correct. And in the tier report, it shows what they're proposing, or what the departments are proposing, what's in the current budget to the extent we have line items for that, what was done last year, and what was done, what gallons were used last year. So all of the recommended adjustments are more or less within the budget.
My one question was, I know we put the garage up. Was there a reason that they went over last year? Eric? Do you know, was there a specific reason why you guys went over on the pre-buy last year?
Basically a long winter.
Okay.
Wasn't there to turn the heat off.
Huh? Yeah. And the doors don't seal
Turn it
the
on in
greatest.
December.
But doors don't seal the greatest over there, so you lose a lot of heat.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions?
But the proposed change is still below the approved budget.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say in terms of because of the use of certain buildings, but you hope that things will start to return to normal and those buildings will start to be used again. But yeah, it looks fine to me.
Whatever you don't spend, Ian, you get back.
Oh, okay.
So if you feel like when we pre-buy, if at the end of the year a certain building has extra money left, we get a check back.
Oh, okay. There you go.
We actually get a check, or do they just give us a credit for the following year?
Well, last year or 2 years ago, they gave us a credit, but I think it really kind of made the teen center budget look really wonky. So we requested that the future year you get a check. And I think for us, because we're a municipality, they give us a check. I don't know if they do that for customers, but
yeah,
for a municipality, they do give us a check.
Okay.
Any other questions? Somebody want to make a motion?
Just not everybody's going to speak at once. I move we accept the pre-buy recommendations.
Somebody second?
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Wave your hand, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, curb cut application 20-02DA, Greg West Lower Notch Road.
Hopefully folks had a chance to review the application and the Public Works Foreman's recommendation for a number of conditions.
So Eric, I need to ask you something based on this application. Do I take it that this driveway is already there?
Yep.
So I see you had some recommendations of what he had to do. How are we going to make sure he does them? And this is only for 2 lots, right? He's got 2 more lots.
3.
3 more lots. Okay.
Well, this is for 1 and 2, and then there's 2 and 4, as far as from the plan.
From the plan, yeah. Go ahead, Joel.
Eric, is this where the apartment house is, or up with Ted Lyles' old place?
Right across from Mikey's driveway.
Oh, okay. Those 3 lots that used to be Jimmy Lathrop's lots. Correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I know where you are.
So is there already existing houses on them?
No. He's
Okay.
got the lots. He's got the lots all stripped and cut out. He's got the driveways probably 3/4 of the way in done.
On just these 2 lots or all 4?
No, just these 2 lots.
Okay.
So yeah,
So I'm just curious, how are we going to make him do what we want him to do if he's already got the driveways in? Because you said he has to put a culvert in, right?
The culvert he's already got in.
Oh, okay.
but he's only got like 3 inches of cover on it. So one winter of plowing, whoever plows the driveway scrapes that off and starts cutting into the culvert. See, after the first initial one, we take responsibility for the culvert after that. So theoretically, if he cuts that culvert all up this winter, we would have to put in a brand new one next year. He doesn't have enough cover on it, and a fuel truck backing in there could potentially collapse it because there's not enough cover on it.
Well, you got gravel and concrete and everything else to go in there. I guess I would,
Right.
I would move that we approve the permit, and that the culvert, if the culvert isn't put into our specifications, that the road crew will put it into our specifications, and he will pay for it.
How about all the conditions that Eric put in, if he doesn't get it done, and I think we need to give him a date certain to have it done by, then he has to pay the road crew to do it. Can we do that?
If he's already working in there, and has he got a building permit yet?
No, it's in the permit review process right now.
Can we hold the permit until can we put a stop on the permit until the driveway meets our specification? Do we have that ability?
That's a good question. Whether that can be forwarded as a proposed condition of approval, but as an alternative or parallel, any certificate of occupancy could be withheld until all the permit conditions are met, and that would be a problem for the applicant.
It's only going to be a problem if he sells it.
He wouldn't be able to sell it.
Right, yeah, but if he's just going to rent it, he won't care. Yeah. Joel?
Eric, is there enough, if that driveway culvert has to be lowered to put more gravel over the top, is there enough pitch for the water to go downstream? I mean, go down the ditch?
Yep. Yep.
There is?
We'd have to dish the lower end of it to daylight it, but yeah, there's enough drop there for it.
For all.
So he's gonna have to ditch it.
Right. That would be part of, I'd put that in the condition that we'd have to do both sides.
Helen, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'm not a member of the select board, so I haven't read his proposal and I didn't know what it was in reference to. I live across from a subdivision that he built across from Many Waters Road on Lower Notch Road. And it was problematic, and we took it to the zoning board several times because he built houses for which the land was not zoned for, and asked for permission to continue, and the zoning board said, sure, but you must change that driveway, which was too steep and had too sharp a turn off of Lower Notch Road. He never did any of that, and he's now sold at least some of that land. There was a for sale sign that is now gone. So I'm just not, you have to figure out a way to hold him to his guns, or you have to hold your guns, or whatever the phrase is that I'm not getting right. But I'm living across from evidence that, I don't know how many years ago it was, 6 years ago, he was told he had to do this to the driveway and nothing was ever done. So that's my only comment.
And that's what I'm worried about, not following through. I think we need to put some teeth in it somehow.
That was my point, whether we could make a contingent on because I know just what she's talking about, and this could happen, and I don't want it to happen again. So I think if there's a way we can tie it to the building permit, that he can't get his building permit until his access is acceptable.
Right.
I think we ought to do that.
Right. And he did
what
it
about
backwards across from Many Waters Road, where he had built all the buildings and then asked permission.
Right.
And the zoning board said, sure, with this one clarification, this one modification, and it never happened.
Joel?
I think some towns, and Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, right here, doesn't Starksboro, their road crew puts the culvert in and land pay for that. We did years ago at our deer camp. We sent them a check after the was built. They put the culvert into their specs and the height over the gravel they wanted. You know, the first 20 feet in the gravel, our driveway, and then we took the rest of it. But we paid town of Starksboro years to do ours. I agree with Baker. We want that thing done right. We ought to be doing it ourselves. And, you know, if some excavator with reputation that's got a good reputation, and we can say, you put it in, our road foreman's on site then to make sure it's done properly. If you have the equipment, we could, I won't say slide by, but let you do it. But our road foreman is on site to make sure the specs there, if it calls for 12 inches of gravel over it and a 24-inch culvert, that those things will be done. If it calls for a 2-inch % pitch in it, then those things will be done, approved by the road foreman on site. But I think we ought to put it in and bill him for it. And whether that's a lien on his taxes, I don't know, but how you going to get your money? But yeah.
I'd bill him before you did it.
Yeah, or yes.
Because if you bill him after you did it, you
paid in full if you want your permit for a driver.
Yeah, you won't get it afterwards.
So what are the options that have been used in the past for situations like this? Do we have a previous example?
The ones that we've let do themselves, in the past, and I'm talking only the past 10, 11 years, we really haven't had any issues with the people. Oh, shit. Yeah, I'm unmuted. Yeah. We haven't had any issues with them putting it in. They usually follow the recommendations. The foreman goes back and checks it, make sure that it's all up to what we wrote down, and then we sign off on it. And we really haven't had too many issues with it. I can see being an issue with this one, just because of
his track record.
Past experience.
Exactly, his track record. Yeah, exactly.
What's that old saying? The next house they build will have to be a round house because he cut so many corners, he couldn't cut a square one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think
Go
that
ahead.
giving a timeline would make a difference?
Depends on how bad he wants to build a house.
Right.
Jen, go ahead.
So don't we normally coincide this with a work in the right-of-way permit, which is the $250 deposit, and that basically that's kind of how we tag getting people to do the driveway the right way because they want their $250 deposit back for their right of the way permit or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it kind of goes together. So they pay $50 to get an access permit, but then they pay $250. That's a check that we hold as a deposit to pay to work in the right of way. So is that what ends up being our leverage for? Like,
Yeah, but
because
if
it's not one permit, it's two separate permits.
Yeah, but if the $250 is less than what it's going to cost him to bring in the gravel and that, he may just say, forget it, I don't care, I'll lose that money. You know, I don't know, I'm playing devil's advocate here because I just think we need to be able to make sure that he held to the standards that, you know, Eric says, this is what you have to have. He's already got it in, so he's already done it. And he knows he's supposed to have a permit. This is not his first rodeo.
Yeah, he had that driveway all in before he even applied for the permit.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So what's to force him to do it right?
As Helen is saying, he's asking for, instead of asking permission, he's asking for forgiveness. He does say first, then ask for forgiveness.
Right. He's played the game before.
I think we find a way to tie it to the building permit, and he doesn't get a building permit until the driveway is properly installed.
I agree. I mean, I don't think there's any reason we can't have Chris put that condition on a building permit.
Michelle, I'm going to call Chris right now and ask him.
Good luck.
I know.
To follow up on Jen's point, he did submit the work in the right-of-way application with the $250 fee. What we have not received yet, and I think it was just a miscommunication, that he has not paid the $50 access fee yet. So that's still out there. I think that just needs to be communicated.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can approve the permit with Eric's conditions and that it not, or that it not be, it's approved. How do we put, now how do you make that motion, Peter? We'll approve the permit, or the condition of the approval of the permit is what?
The road foreman's conditions plus that it be installed prior to, it be inspected prior to the building permit being issued.
Mhm.
If it's not right, we don't issue the permit. Or
So do you not include a timeline then?
you know, well, if he wants to build a house in a timely manner, then there doesn't need to be a timeline. And I
Valerie,
know that's the reason he's already got the driveway in is because he wants to build a house.
Right. Go ahead, Joel.
Valerie or Michelle, is there any issue or teeth in our language that says if the driveway was put in without a permit and not properly put in to our specs, we can remove the culvert and return it back onto the owner's property and remove the gravel and culvert and make it a ditch again? Is there any specs of that, Valerie, in our?
I mean, basically, he doesn't have a permit right now, so he's in violation. So if he's in violation, we can give him a notice of violation and say, you need to remove it.
But if he doesn't remove it, he doesn't get a permit, and he sweat off his, you know what? He's just gonna see, okay, I'm gonna build a house and put it up for sale. If I sell it, and then I'm gonna go pay all these stuff I need to, because I got money now to pay it. That's one more expense he doesn't want to take on right now.
Mhm.
But if we say, no, we're taking the culvert out and putting it back on your lawn, and this is gonna be a ditch here until you the specs and you pay us.
If there's not enough if there's not enough cover over it, running the gravel's got to go in there to do the septic and the foundation drain and all that's going to end up ruining the culvert. So it needs to be put in right to begin with.
Yeah, it'll crush it.
Were you
Does
weren't
everybody
able to
like-
get hold of Chris at all?
Joel?
I just got his voicemail.
Joe Peter, are you happy with your motion, the way you said it?
Yes.
Okay. Does somebody want to second that motion?
A second it. Tosh, you want to read that back one more time? I heard most of it. That we will pay for it, we will do it?
No.
No.
No, but
It'll be put into Eric's specs before he gets his building permit.
okay. What if they can't do that, Peter?
What do you mean, what if they can't do it?
The
You gotta have an excavator there to dig a cellar hole. They can.
I agree with you there, but what if he comes in and he meets all the setbacks and meets all the requirements to put a house there?
The requirement that he hasn't met the requirement that the driveway's installed properly.
Oh, I agree with you there, but I want to make sure the zoning will say driveway permits are the town select board's problem. Setbacks and requirements for all that stuff and the sewer permit are our problem. I just want to make sure. I agree with you. I'll second this, but I want to make sure if they tell us we don't have any teeth and can do that, where do we go then?
Well, Joel, you raise a good point, because this is a little bit out of sequence from the ordinary process, because ordinarily folks would go through the development review process and the access permit is among the last things they get, because so many things can change between, beginning to end. And so by the time we would get the access permit application, they've already been approved for building site and with an envelope, and ideally even an E911 address where the proposed driveway is to be located. We don't have any of that right now, so this is a bit out of sequence.
I guess I'll have to ask, I'm going way back in history here, when the 5 houses were built down on 116 across from Rathburn's Pit, and Beakers remembers this. And that builder was, built a lot of houses around, built some in New Haven, 5 or 6 down there. And I have to ask, if he's building 3 here on Lower Notch Road, I think Helen said he has 2 crossing Many Waters, or maybe even 3 lots. And he's got 2 at the apartment house, or at least one apartment house there on the corner by the High Bridge. Does this sneak into barely getting under Act 250? Because he's got all these, now he's got over 5 lots in less than a 2-mile radius.
Yeah, but it's within a 5 or 10 year plan. If he hasn't done it within 5 years, then
okay,
if you're outside that time frame, then it doesn't.
Okay.
And I can't remember if it's 5 or 10 years, but
right.
if it's outside that, then.
Peter probably remembers that builder down in South Bristol who built those 5 homes.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any more discussion on the motion and the second?
So I just want to read this back real quick.
Okay, go ahead, Tasha.
So I listed all of from Valerie's TA report, all of the conditions that Eric put out. And then I just said, Speaker Heffernan moved to approve the permit with the conditions above, that it be installed and inspected before the building permit is approved. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Peter, did you want to, Jen suggested the $250 working in the right-of-way permit to be held until inspected and approved.
Well, that's kind of a given.
Okay.
But that's a good point.
I mean, he needs the right-of-way permit in order to fix the driveway, right?
And we've got his check.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay.
Fingers
next.
crossed.
Select Board letter of intent to participate in the Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation, Addison County Regional Planning Municipal Grants and Aid Program for equipment purchase.
So hopefully folks had a chance to review the letter of intent that is proposed. Basically, we have an opportunity to purchase equipment through this program up to a certain amount. And Eric and his team have proposed that the department purchase a small bale shredder to use instead of the hydroseeder, which is currently a device that is shared among multiple towns. And part of that has to do with accessibility, but also the cost of actually using it. So perhaps Eric can talk more about this, but there appears to be some savings available. Once a hay bale shredder is purchased and is part of the town's inventory, then the cost of actually using it to stabilize disturbed areas will be less expensive than using the hydroseeder. At least that's
Does the state require the hydroseeder versus the hay mulch, or doesn't it matter? They just want to make sure it's seeded and whatever.
I called and talked to Ashley because I wanted to make sure that if we purchased the shredder, that we were still covered under the, like you said, the covering up the ditches and stuff. And she said we are. It doesn't matter if we use the hydroseeder or if we use the bale shredder. We're still good.
The objective through this program is to help municipalities comply with the state regulations and the municipal roads general permit requirements for stabilizing disturbed soils along ditches especially. And using the straw bale shredder is an alternative to the hydroseeder.
I just want to understand, so when you're talking about the hydroseeder, if we did the hydroseeder, we would purchase one and we would own it. So then it wouldn't be shared. Right now, we're currently sharing it with other towns. So rather than have to use that and share it, you would just use the hay bale shredder mulcher. Correct, Eric?
Correct. We would be able to use it anytime that we wanted to and not have to find it, so to speak, and then be able, you know, it could be a town could be using it for you know, the next 3 or 4 days, and we'd have to wait, and there might be another town lined up right after that town, so we'd have to get on the list, so to speak, and it could be 2 weeks before we could get to hydro seeder.
Okay.
With the bale shredder, we'll have it right with us, and we can do the ditches as we go.
Any questions? Joel, go ahead.
Eric, do we pay a cost per year for that, the hydro seeder that we share with all the other towns in Addison County?
Yeah, it's $100 a year maintenance fee.
So that, just for that, or it's, I know there's other equipment that gets shared around, correct? Or just that piece of equipment?
We just share the hydro seeder.
Okay, so there's $100 we wouldn't pay, not a lot of money, but wouldn't pay that. That might even buy the hay that you got to buy to do your ditches.
Theoretically, yeah, depending on how many ditches we got open, but yeah, you're right.
Okay. Thanks.
So when you pay the $100 maintenance fee on hydro seeder, but when you get the hydro seeder, then you have to buy the seed and all that comes with it, or when you take the hydro seeder, all that stuff is with it?
No. You got to buy the bale, the tack, the fertilizer, the seed, all that stuff to go with it. It's about $2,000 to do a mile with the hydro seeder.
So you're saving more than just the $100. You're saving whatever you would have to pay for the supplies, right?
Right.
Okay.
You still would have to buy the bales, hay bales, which are only average $3 a bale, and the grass seed, which is the same price as you buy for the hydro seeder or doing it by hand.
Okay.
That seed price won't change.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay,
Nope.
somebody want to make a motion?
Support those local providers of hay bales.
So moved.
Okay, somebody second? Joel seconded, Tasha. Any more discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Joel, was your hand up in opposition?
No, he just was a little slow.
Okay. And I just want to reiterate in my notes that submitting this letter of intent does not commit the town to actually buying it. If after we get prices back, the town for some reason decides that it's not worthwhile to pursue. But this is a step forward to get up to, or at least a significant proportion of it covered through this grant program.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't ask.
Did you want to say something?
Addison County Regional Planning doesn't do anything for nothing. What's the grant going to cost us to? Or would it be better off if
The town, it's through the state, and the RPC is kind of the mediator, the broker of it. But as far as I know, they don't. At least if they receive some sort of administrative fee, it's something we don't see, and it's not
Okay.
deducted from our grant allocation.
Okay.
Okay. All right, next order of business, coronavirus COVID-19 update, preparations, response, and impacts to municipal operations.
There's really very little to report on this topic other than the office is still closed, but more to the point, I just wanted to draw attention to tomorrow's election process, which is going to be quite different than what people have experienced in the past. I just want to highlight that it's going to be downstairs, and a number of protocols are going to be in place. Jen and Sharon have been working really hard to put all this together and responding to all of the situations and the absentee ballots, the volume of absentee ballots coming in that need to be processed. And so just to briefly recap, people will be coming into the town office through the South Street entrance, and they'll check in at the counter, which has a plexiglass cover, and they'll get their ballots, and they'll go down the hall, and the hallway will be marked with appropriate distancing in case there's a line forming, and folks will go in. I'm not exactly sure how many people will be limited into the conference room space, whether it's between
4.
Okay.
Jen's raising her finger 4.
4, okay. Well, there is space there to have people situated to mark their ballots, and they will check out. and exit through the ADA door off of South Street. And people will be provided with little golf pencils to take with them so that there won't be touching of multiple pencils. And there'll be sanitizer stations throughout the route for people to use. So it's going to be quite interesting and different.
Yes, Joel?
Jennifer, same hour, 7 to 7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
7 to 1 and then 7 to 7.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And you're required to wear a mask. And if you don't have a mask, they'll have them there.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, I forgot that.
Wear a mask, then you can go vote in your car or something.
Right,
Is that
yes. Yes, the alternative, if somebody, for whatever reason, whether it's accessibility issues or mask inhibitions or whatever, if folks cannot come through the line, they have not submitted an absentee ballot, there's somebody that will be able to go out and meet them outside, give them a ballot and check them in, and they can complete their ballot either in their car or elsewhere. And as long as they return that ballot by the end of the evening at 7 o'clock, it'll be counted.
Okay. All right, any other questions, comments? Yes, Eric?
I just want to I just want to apologize. I guess my comment about the mask last meeting upset a few people. It's just my own opinion. The guys and I are doing what we're supposed to be doing with the mask within the 6 feet, 2 people in a truck. We wear a mask. If we're in the break room within 6 feet, we wear a mask. Same within the shop. We are doing what we're supposed to be doing as far as face covering. What I said was my opinion on the whole situation and mine alone. So I just wanted to rephrase that to make sure the board members understand that we are doing what we are supposed to be doing.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Eric. I had faith in you.
Thank you. Okay, next, paving and sidewalk project update.
There's not a whole lot new to report on this either, other than things are progressing. The stamped concrete is moving forward. The pedestrian signalization infrastructure is in. The VTrans crew, or the contractor's crew, has been working on improving the water system, the valve boxes and the whatnots in the road. And we don't have a schedule yet for when the final pavement will be going down. It could be as much as 2 weeks out, maybe 3, but other things are progressing.
Because I have to ask, when I went through early this morning, there was a huge, huge puddle at the end of School Street and West Street. And I'm hoping that our drainage system we did there already is gonna work. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I had somebody call me this morning concerned about that same puddle. Hutchinson, for some reason, are raising the inlets. And I don't know why they're raising them. Some of them look to me like they're not going to take water. And that I could be just an optical illusion, but I did talk to Brandon today, and he swears that they will take water once they get the final coat on. So,
well, they better hope so. They'll be coming back and fixing them.
Well, yeah, but if they come back and fix them, that means they got to cut the pavement and chisel them all out because they're all cemented in.
Yep.
Peeker, did you get a chance to look, or you didn't have time?
You're muted, Peeker.
I didn't have a chance to get down there today and take a look.
Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't actually notice in front of Alan's house today either, whether that was, because that's usually another trouble spot, and I don't know if they fixed that or not.
I don't think so.
Yeah, Joel?
Michelle, I saw that great big puddle because I was driving home from Middlebury and it was just coming down. So I figured when I got there about 4:45, there was a puddle there by the end of School Street. It was sunny out and I had my ruler with me. So I walked in the middle of that puddle and about 3/4 inch of water spread out there. And if they put an inch of pavement to that drain, in theory, You know, like you said, I wasn't an engineer. I'm not an engineer, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night. It should reach that drain. But yeah, that puddle. I've had people say to that. So I got out this afternoon and measured it. It's about just under 3/4 of an inch of water was sitting in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right out.
Mm-hmm. I wondered what they were. I saw them digging out the storm drains all the way along West Street, and I was trying to figure out what they were doing. But that's what they're doing. They're raising them. They're raising the covers.
Yeah, they're putting a layer of brick underneath them between the brick and the structure. And they're raising them up about 2.5, 3 inches.
I mean, in theory, Eric, that's so the top coat is the right height, and they're the right. I mean, should be slightly lower, right? That's the idea.
They should be slightly lower than the top layer of the pavement.
Okay. Well,
Let's hope so.
let's hope their measuring is right.
Right.
Yeah, the stamped concrete's all the way down, almost to snaps. Tonight, they're working on by tandem and the bank. I met Chris out there on Friday just to confirm the work, the way that the stamped concrete would be around the new or the crosswalk by National Bank. There was a sort of question about that. Originally, it was all the way across the walkway, which was incorrect, and that was an engineer's issue. We corrected that, but now seeing what was there, I wanted to make sure. So I talked to them and we sorted that out. The crosswalk signs are all in and working. They look really good. We'll see if people stop when people use them. Still haven't had any definitive answer about the 2 or 3 sidewalk panels that still puddle with water on the south side. They say that they're level, even though you can, if it rains, you can see water's in the middle of them, so they're not level. It's draining, it's to the center. So they're going to try maybe cutting into them, Chris said, to maybe alleviate some of the water. So I'm not sure exactly what they're going to be doing, but we'll find out.
Well, if you cut into them and open them up, doesn't that just create a problem?
Yeah, you would think so. So I'm not sure what they're doing. It seems like they're trying to not re-pour them, and I don't know if we should. Yeah, I don't know if we should accept that or not. And it's in areas that we had problems with before. So as I said to him at our meeting last Thursday, I said I'd hate for us to pay all this money to have sidewalk that was exactly the same as what we replaced and still had issues. So I mean, and they, out of all the panels that they've replaced, it's only 2 or 3. So, you know, they know how to do it. They just need to redo it. So I'm keeping an eye on that just to make sure they do fix those. The other thing, we had a complaint from a Main Street business owner about this day work that was happening that I wasn't aware of. And it was sort of like prep work for the night work, but there was no mention from them that there was going to be any day work on Main Street. And this seemed to be quite heavy, and it was right in front of someone's store, and workers were sitting right there, all sorts of issues, and I've asked clarification from Chris on that and why that's happening, and making sure that's not going to happen during this week either, because it seems very, it didn't seem good. And there was no mention to us that there was going to be work happening during the day on Main Street.
I was gonna say there was day work there today because they had flaggers out stopping people, but I wasn't paying attention to see what they were doing.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any day work happening on Main Street now for even if it's prep for the stamped concrete. That should all be done at night. So we need to figure out what's going on and why they're doing that.
At our meeting last Thursday, this topic came up because the contractor or subcontractor requested the ability to work during the day. And at that time, because we hadn't really, it seemed manageable on the face of it, we thought, okay, if it's going to allow the work to get done twice as fast, great. And it didn't seem to be that disruptive of a project. But during the meeting on Thursday, we learned that in fact it would require blocking off a lot of parking spaces, and then in fact it would be disruptive. And the impression that we left with at the end of that meeting was that it would not be day work, that it would continue to be evening work.
Right. And they worked on, when I met them on Friday, they were working, they were cleaning, they were sawing the end of their stamped concrete. So it's sort of like prep work for the evening, but I don't know, they shouldn't be out there doing that. So we need to find out from Chris what's happening. One other thing that the engineer or the person with Hutchins suggested, they're doing the concrete, they power wash it clean, and then they spray on this top coat, this sealer. He asked whether, at the same time, whether we want to reseal the stamped concrete that we already have at the intersection. So I wanted to bring that up for us to discuss if that's something we want to do. I don't know if it's something that we need to do. He was, from an aesthetic view, it would match more. The color would be slightly different, but is that something that we're interested in? Do we need to do that? I don't know enough about the maintenance of that, of the stamped concrete going forward. And it's probably been 5 years, I think, since that was done, maybe a little bit more. So I don't know if Eric.
2015.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know if Eric, if you know about that, or is that something we need to do, or do we just leave it to where?
Zach, I talked to Zach about that, and he says you're supposed to seal that concrete every year. That's what he told me. So other than that,
No,
I don't know anymore.
I'm sure he's right. It's the same thing with looking after the flowers in the intersection. It's sort of just something that
Yeah.
Ben, go ahead.
Are they gonna fill in the flower bed that's right in front of the office, and then the one that's on the south side, that would be where that handicap spot is going to be, that you guys discussed back in the fall?
It's
That
funny
would
you
be
say that,
right
because I thought about that the other day. I said, God, we ought to just put stamped concrete in there because nobody's maintaining any flowers.
I had thought, well, no, I had thought that you said that when we talked about the different designs in the fall, that the spot that's in front of the Holly Hall, even as a parking spot, if somebody gets out, they're getting out into a flower bed. So I thought we'd talked about that would become concrete, and then that we got a complaint from somebody that there wasn't a handicap parking spot close enough to the laundromat, and that the last parking spot, like right in front of recycled reading, was going to become a handicap as well. Right. And so I thought that there was talk about making that flower bed stamped concrete so that somebody could get easily up and down to the sidewalk, from the sidewalk. So I was just asking.
So they've done that. So that for the new spot in front of recycled reading, it'll be checkered off, and they built a ramp through that flower bed area, so you can exit your vehicle and get onto the sidewalk. So that's there. So they removed part of the flower bed. There's still flower bed there. So that's that done. The spot directly in front of Holly Hall, that spot is going away. There'll be no parking space there anymore. And so it's just going to be a striped area, no parking. And so that flower bed will remain the same since no one's parking there. And then there will be a spot directly across the road. That first space there will become an accessible spot. And so, then the reason they took away the one in front of Holly Hall is because you don't, like you said, with that flower bed, you don't have access, but you're even getting out of the driver's seat, it's very dangerous because you're right into traffic. Right. So they felt that it was no longer, it shouldn't have been there originally, but so that's going away completely. So that's why we don't have to do anything. We just need to reflower the flower beds. So.
Okay.
But yeah, everything else looks good. I have my questions for them, and we'll continue to sort of follow up and hopefully get information on Thursday. But I think, if anyone sees work on Main Street, if I do, I'll let Chris know, and hopefully he'll answer me tomorrow about that.
Joel?
Michelle, this may be the question for Peter or Eric. I learned this weekend, over the week, up in the Northeast Kingdom, this plant mix, the asphalt that comes for this Main Street and West Street, East Street, all this whole project from Hutchins is in Irisburg, 2 hours away. I'd like to ask the state engineer, maybe Brendan, Ian, do you guys think that's a little far away, and how much is that mix going to cool down by the time it gets here, 2 hours in a dump truck? And is that why we're getting maybe some ripples? It's not as hot as it should be to go down. I don't know that much about it, but I would like 2 hours away. It's not coming from New Haven or Williston. It's coming from Irisburg. So that's a question I have for the state. Maybe Peter or Eric can know that's not going to temperature.
I don't know. They're paving down in Rutland. They're drawing that all out of Irisburg too.
Okay.
So it must.
Even if that's the case.
The state has specifications on the heat it has to be, and they check it. So they must be checking it. It must be meeting the spec.
Right. Yeah, so to Joel's point, I mean, even if that's the case, I don't know what recourse we would have
Right.
about that.
If it's the temperature when it goes down, it's the temperature, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Guys, Chris is on if we wanted to ask him that question.
I was just say that Chris is here if somebody wants to ask him. Go ahead, Peeker, ask Chris.
He already knows the question, and we're well within our rights. You have to get the building permit prior to, or you have to get the access permit prior to getting the building permit, and we can put that as a stipulation, and he thought that that was a good move on our part.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So we're good, the way we had it?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes,
Great.
you are.
Well, hopefully that helps that issue. Okay.
Good.
We all done with paving and sidewalk project updates?
Nope.
Okay.
One last thing, Mountain Street. We got word from Donnie Sargent that he's planning to do the work either, I think he said later this week, on the Mountain Street project, sidewalk project. And that includes a residential water line replacement that needs to be coordinated with bitumes, and they're in the loop about that. So hopefully that we will see some progress on that. I don't know if Eric has anything to add, because Eric's been communicating more directly with Donnie lately.
No, basically what you said, Valerie, is the same thing that he told me. We did talk about taking the sod away from between the sidewalk and the road in a couple spots, so the sidewalk wouldn't have to be so high, because the sidewalks there now, if you took the grass away to the road, is actually above the road height. So he would basically be able to put the sidewalk back to the same height that it is now and still be able to drain. I asked him to give me a price on that before he did it, and I'm still waiting to hear from that.
Okay. Joel?
Cy mentioned to me the other day, remember when him and Joe were on 2-3 weeks ago now, maybe even 4, about some broken or hit water shutoffs on East Street area.
Mm-hmm.
And Brendan agreed to pay for and one he didn't agree to pay for. That's that new house that's going up. And I was just wondering if there's any recourse to that. Cy believes it was hit when they were ditching down through there. I mean, Eric didn't do any ditching, nobody else did, so.
No, I didn't do no digging down
That
there.
had to get replaced on our dime, so.
I talked with Jill about that, and from her and Cy's perspective, they felt they went as far as they could with V-Trans on that subject, and they were not inclined to argue it anymore. So they just went ahead and were prepared to do the replacements themselves, the repairs themselves.
So they went as far as they could. Really, is it up to them or up to us really to push that point?
It's our water system.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really up to us to push that point. They've already fixed it, right?
At least 2 have been fixed. I'm not sure about the status of the others. I believe they've been fixed. Some of the information I received from the V-Trans side of things suggested that it was clear to them that the damage to those facilities happened prior to the project from their perspective. So it's kind of a he said, she said, and I'm not really sure what the recourse is with that.
That was a new water service put in late fall by Master.
That one has been repaired. That one was fixed. But the other 2, there are still 2 that were at issue.
And the state's claiming that they were previously done. Okay.
Yeah, the evidence, because of other stuff that was evident around the damaged material, suggested that it was older than their work.
Yeah, they said that they didn't touch those. and that they could see that it was a previously damaged part.
So it might be a pick your battle kind of situation.
Mhm. Anybody else have any comments on that? I mean, I don't know that we're gonna get anywhere.
Yeah.
Guess you could put it on the punch list. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't.
Right.
Yeah, they
Or
should, VTUM should definitely proceed with the repairs, and then we can negotiate about
cost.
it later, as long as the repairs don't get held up
Right.
over who's going to do
Yeah.
what. They need to be done, and if they're not going to do it, then we need to, and then we can bicker about it later.
Well, yeah, we certainly want it done before they pave. But, you know, put it on the punch list. Maybe we can negotiate them to pay 50% of it.
Yeah, that's
You know,
suggestion.
say let's split the cost, but,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Cost.
Okay. Is that it? That one? Okay. Next, consider formation of an appointments to the Emerald Ash Borer Strategic Plan Committee.
Finally.
Thanks for waiting, Alex.
So as I've noted previously that this effort was put on hold as we dealt with pandemic matters. And we received responses from 3 citizens who would like to be involved, and that it would be Christopher Pepe, Mark Adams, and I'm drawing a blank on the other person's name, but it's
Jill. Jill Steinberg, is that the one?
Yes, thank you. I don't have it in front of me. And then also representatives from the Recreation Department and the Conservation Commission and our tree warden, John Swepston. And I'm proposing that this be a standing committee because I'm envisioning that even after this initial work is done, that there will be ongoing interest in keeping up on the situation, updating the management plan, perhaps just ongoing oversight. And the membership might evolve over time, but I think it's worthwhile to keep the committee in place for the foreseeable future.
Mhm.
Proposing a 2-year term for each person.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
So moved.
To appoint,
Those
to
three.
create, what are we going to do? Create a standing
Yeah, stand.
committee and appoint Mark, Jill, Christopher, someone from the Conservation Commission, and then Alex as the rep representative? Okay.
And speaking of Emerald Ash, did you guys notice remember the one that made the state news on North Street that we had taken down? There isn't one 50 feet below that one coming south on the same side of the road.
Right. Yep.
That's all gone now.
John Swepston noted that.
Huh?
John Swepston was aware of that.
So I wondered if we should get that one grounded immediately.
Hmm.
Those bugs get moved down the street further. They're moving anyway, but
Yeah, this is their flight season.
I'm worried about the 5 or 6 that are around the park. That
Mhm.
during that state meeting we had a year ago, at least last May. Was it, Valerie?
June.
In June of last year. We pointed out 4 or 5 when we took the walk afterwards on the back of the park there towards just north of the playground, the children's area. I'm worried about the ones on the park starting to
Right.
queuing up.
Mhm. Well, let's get this committee up and running then. So somebody want to second Joel's motion?
Second.
All right. Any more discussion? Go ahead, Tasha. Did you have a question?
Yeah, just quickly, so I have the 3 Bristol residents and then John Swepson, right? And then
Yep.
Alex, is that it?
Alex as the representative for the rec department, and then there will be another one from the Conservation Commission.
Okay,
Just
that's
don't
what
know
I
who
was
that will
gonna
be.
Okay.
Okay? Great. All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye, whatever. Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Good night,
Thank
Alex.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Approval of July 8th, July 13th, July 20, and July 27th minutes.
Nope. one week before that, the acknowledgement of the Unified Development Regs.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Acknowledge receipt of the proposed unified development regulations from the Bristol Planning Commission. So acknowledged?
And I think Katie's here to talk about that, I assume.
Yeah,
Katie,
there's
you want to jump in?
for the select board to do it tonight, just to acknowledge receipt, but also just a chance to discuss the process coming up, that a public hearing is scheduled for the next meeting on August 24th. So hopefully folks will have a chance to review the documents, and if folks have already had a chance to review the documents and you already have questions or comments that you want to discuss, this would be an opportunity to do that.
Right, and this is, the Planning Commission did a memo as to where the major changes is, so we don't have to read the whole thing. You just have to look at the sections where they made the changes. So that's what I was looking at. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to read the whole thing again, but I was like, okay, I see the memo, so yes. Anybody have any questions? Katie or Chris, you want to say anything?
I'm good.
Okay. Katie must be like off somewhere. Okay. All right, so that would be August 20, what's the date?
August 24th. And if, as a result or prior to the hearing, any substantive changes are proposed to the regulations, then an additional public hearing would be required with a 15-day public hearing notice, which there would still be time to do in September and still make the late September line to have it on the November ballot.
Okay. Okay. So make sure you guys all review it before next meeting. Okay, now approval of the minutes.
Thank
So
you.
I think I sent Val, I sent you changes for July 8th, July 13th, and July 20, right? I gave you those three?
Yes, you did. And
Okay.
the drafts that are currently posted on tonight's website agenda reflect those changes.
Yeah, which there weren't many, they were just minor stuff, but.
So they should reflect those changes.
Yeah, and July
That's why
27th,
they're-
I didn't
that's
get
why
a
they're
chance to
volume
look at.
2.
Mhm. Right. Anybody else get a chance to look at July 27th? Joel? You're still muted.
There was one spot that you, on the 27th, I believe you, either Valerie or Tasha, you had Ann and then A again, and it just didn't make sense there. I don't remember, because I was getting ready to print them, then the bank got hit, and we lost all internet and everything at the bank, so I couldn't. The computers went down.
Yeah, poured in Middlebury and we got nothing up here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll look at them.
Yeah, for that.
I'll look at them tomorrow, Val. If I get a chance tomorrow, and then I'll send you, if I have any changes, I'll let you know. But
So does the select board want to kind of preemptively approve them, subject to anticipated corrections?
is everybody good with that? Approve all the minutes and, okay. Somebody, Darla, you're making that motion, you're shaking your head. Okay. Jolie's second. Any other comments, discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Okay, any opposed? Motion carried.
So just so
Okay.
you're approving all of those in one swoop?
Yes, those
Okay,
four. Yep.
Okay.
Do you have the warrant number, Tasha? Okay.
Yeah, I have the $206,013.75.
Yep. Okay.
Jennifer, if you think of it, hold on, Michelle. If you think of it, will you send those warrants to us, Jennifer? Tasha, because I just sent it to Tasha, so she has it pre-page.
So do you understand that, Jen? So just to
No,
include
sorry.
Tasha in your email.
When you
Okay,
send
yeah,
it
I
to
see
Warrants.
that. Sorry, yeah.
And I don't have to continue to send them to her.
Okay. Jen, is there any liquor licenses for us to sign at the office? Okay, so we just need to stop by and sign the warrant. Okay. Let's see. Select board roundtable. Peeker, start with you.
All kinds of good stuff tonight. I thought about the Pete Lossman situation, and the plow on our truck is 11 feet wide, And if you meet a 6-foot car, that's 17 feet. There's no way that we can narrow that road up and make it safe for people driving on it and our maintenance equipment. And I think that, and Bruce, this isn't any shot at the PD. I think it's a if it's a speed issue, it's an enforcement thing, and maybe we ask the PD to spend a little bit of time up there doing enforcement if they're not already. But I don't think that, I think our response to Peter should be that we don't see I don't see making that road less than 18, 20 feet. I just don't think it's safe.
Okay, that's one. Do you want people to respond to that?
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay. All right, Ian, go ahead.
So last time we talked about this, I was asking about the history of it. Has it been the case where plows in the past have had smaller blades and that we were able to accompany, and as we get into newer machinery, blades have become wider?
I don't believe, it's probably a question for Eric, but I don't believe they've been any narrower. I think they've always been between 10 and 11 feet. I think that maybe that little section of road, because the trees were there and may have been a little narrower right in that one particular section. I can't say because I don't know the road that well, but the rest of the road is all 18, 20 feet wide.
Okay,
Joel,
so
did
it's
you have
something where
something?
it's.
Sorry, Ian, go ahead.
I was going to say it's something where, because of safety, that's our main reason for having it the width that it is, versus trying to arbitrarily widen roads around the town. It seems like maybe in the past it was narrower, and so it probably was more dangerous if you're plowing and you have a car coming down. But now, because of the width it is, it seems like it's safe to be able to do that.
That's my take on it, Ian. But then again, that's my opinion. That's why I brought it for comment.
Joel, did you have something?
Yeah, Peter, I agree with you. I don't think the road was ever 12, 15 feet wide like he thought it was. But I do hear his concern a little bit, because that ditch has been there since Christ was an altar boy on the upper side. And the center line seems to keep moving towards Pete's. Because if we're going to widen the road, we're always riding it towards Pete's. And I'd like to go up there and measure, not now, where if the road was 20 feet 25 years ago, go from that edge where that big ditch is on the Ken Weston side, measure the top of the road, find the center, and then go each way. What I'm trying to say is, we never widen towards the upper side. We always seem to go, and it just moves the center of the road over towards Pete's more. I do think he has a concern. Are we going to put it back to 12, 15 feet? No. But I'm concerned that we keep moving the center of the road just more towards the west.
Yeah, they did a few years back. They went up and they stumped all that and ditched the east side of that road. I remember them doing that, and we're still well within our 25 feet from the center of that road towards his property.
Right.
I mean, the whole road itself isn't 25 feet wide, ditches included. Oh.
No, but I don't want to eventually the 25 feet in the center of the road going up the hill towards the Westons, towards the
Yeah, I believe we're all in agreement that if the road has gotten wider, it's gotten wider to the west.
Correct.
And the center line of the road isn't the center of the right of way.
Correct. There. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Next speaker.
Oh gosh, I think I probably lost it.
You want us to come back to you?
I know there were 3 things, and I don't. Yeah, you're gonna have to.
Okay. Ian?
I am good. I said my piece with the Main Street issues with working during the day.
Darla?
I had 2 things. The first one was we had talked the night of. We mentioned it in passing when we did the tour about the sign that's on the what we call a handicap accessible door and changing that. I just wondered if we made any headway on changing that sign from saying handicap to accessible. It's just I know it seems like a small thing, but I have had people mention that to me. So just wondering if that's something we can pursue, is finding a sign with new terminology that's more updated. And the second thing was,
is that the sign you're talking about, Holly Hall? The one
Yes. Yeah,
that's
sorry.
accessible. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. And the second thing was that Brighton Luke had put a post on Front Porch Forum the other day about a tree committee, and just wondering what, like private citizens, doing the labor and whatnot. I just wasn't sure where Bristol was in replacing trees. I know that there's a very tiny budget for that kind of thing, but I'm just wondering if it would be, if a town committee of sorts would be welcomed, or how that would work. If anybody can give me any guidance on that. Yes, I'm seeing giggles.
We tend to replace trees as we take them down, like the ones on Maple Street.
It's possible that this Emerald Ash Borer Committee might evolve or branch off, or could overlap with that kind of effort. I recall seeing that post very briefly. I don't remember the specifics about it, but I remember when I read it, I thought about the Emerald Ash Borer Committee and if there's any kind of overlap there.
So if there was a group of citizens who were interested in doing that, would it be best to be in touch with you, Valerie?
Sure.
Okay. That's all I have.
No.
On that, Darla, I saw that post too, and I can remember when we were a village in a town, and we take a village tree, especially in the village, the streets are beginning to, as they say, brighten up, get less tree cover. The village used to offer to the landowner, if you took a tree down on Maple Street, hold on. And they would say, "Go, I hate to miss that tree. It's, but it was dead. They knew it had to come down." They'd say, "If you want to buy the tree, the village would put it in for nothing." And maybe that's something that we could start. Boy, I miss my old tree out front on Maple Street or Spring Street or any of the streets, and say, "Buy a tree, will you guys plant it?" Homeowners will do that. I'm not going to say they all will, but some might. And it's something this Ash Borer Committee can look at. I would hope.
Well, then there's some homeowners who don't want the trees there, so.
Right. I mean, that's our call, but mostly, like you say, that tree budget is mostly for removal and not for planting.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I do expect that as part of the purview of this new Emerald Ash Borer Committee will be when a tree is removed, that there'll be consideration about what to put it in place of it. And I know that there have been trees removed in recent times where we've acknowledged to the current property owners that we completely expect to replace the tree. For example, the one on East Street where one had to be removed for the drainage system. We committed to offering to replace that one. So I do think there's some overlap there.
And I did see something, 350.org or something has got a grant out right now. Towns can apply in Vermont. 150,000 trees in Vermont by the year 2021 ends. So and they're giving grants out to towns to buy trees. And I hadn't looked into that. I just heard about that this past week.
Who was giving that grant, Joel?
I believe it was 350.org. They had it on the news the other night. I saw that, and I got to dig into that a little more, Darla. So, and I only had two other little things. Is Eric? I checked the spots that got fixed at the landfill. No offense to Gregory, but I hope we didn't pay a lot for that because it
looks bad.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. And then I was wondering, put it on our bucket list for things to do later after we got discussing with our driveway specs is, should we consider we put the driveways in at a cost? We put the driveway first 10 feet off the culvert and we put the culvert in ourselves so we know it's the spec, unless, or something, and we charge the landowner. Nothing we can do right now because our driveway specs, but maybe we can have that change in our specs and vote on it as a select board. You have something given to us at a later date, maybe 6 to 8 months, 12 months away for next construction season.
If we're gonna do that, it's gotta be part of the driveway.
Maybe Valerie, reach out to VLCT and see what other towns are doing.
I mean, that would have to be part of the driveway permit process then too.
Right.
Yeah.
Consider.
I think the reason that we went away from that, we used to do it, was that we were competing with private contractors, and it's not an issue when a contractor puts the driveway in. It's more an issue when a person puts their own in. So if you hire Masterson to build your driveway and do your site work, there's not an issue with your road culvert going in. It's more of an issue when somebody tries to do it themselves, or somebody who isn't being paid to do it does it.
Right.
And I think that was why we went away from it. Yeah. That, and the fact that, getting our money is always an issue as well.
Right. Well, I think of, and I was against on the water line at Devon Lane. That was put in down the road, across the road, and then had to go back and dig it out because they didn't tamp it correctly. And, it comes on that same preview. If you're working in our way and things aren't done right, we pay the price and our voters pay the price later, because we got to go back and repave it and fix it. And they're sitting there going, well, I tamped it a couple of times with my feet in the first 10 feet and then left it. So,
well, Jen asked me if we could add a significant deposit fee to the access permit fee. That would cover some of the costs if they either don't do it right, or if we do it.
I'd like to see Valerie do a little research on the VLTC website and see what other towns are doing. I'll look into Middlebury and a few others down south, but see what they're doing. Maybe they charge a higher fee, and if it's not done properly, we keep the fee, and we're going to do it. We're going to do your driveway over again.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Speaker, did you think of what you had?
Yeah, actually, Joel hit on one of them, but I wrote it down beforehand, so I had it before you mentioned it. Devon Lane, I spoke with Eric, I think last week, and I believe he was going to get with Valerie and send a letter that there's an issue with that road crossing there, that it needs to be fixed. Did that happen, Eric?
I went and talked to Randy himself and told him that it needed to be fixed. I marked it on the cut where it needed to be done. He wasn't really too pumped about doing it.
I'm sure he's not.
No, he says, well, I don't have time to do that. Can you guys do that? And I said, no. I said, I'm not getting in the middle of it. Then if we do it and no. I said, no, that's up to you. I said, I don't care who fixes it. I said, you can do it yourself. You can hire somebody to do it. I don't care, but it needs to be fixed. And that's the way I left it with him. And so I haven't heard anything since.
So I think we need it documented. What I had Eric do was mark the pavement where he wanted it fixed in between two lines and take a picture of it, so he had documentation of it. But I think that's something, we told him a year, and I think we got to be getting close to our year.
We're right up there.
So we need to send a letter to him, basically?
Yeah.
Should we give him a deadline?
We made it very clear that it was his responsibility for a year, because he wasn't able to compact it the way we said we wanted it compacted, because he was afraid it was going to cave in on it. And he was at that meeting and agreed to it. So I think we want it fixed.
And the way Eric and I left it was that Eric was going to talk with him first and see how that went. And then we were going to craft a memo or letter after that to document how it was agreed.
Yeah, and I'd put the date that Eric talked to him in that letter so that we know we're within our time frame. Joel?
Yeah, Jen or Chris Pearlie, if you're listening on, has he got his CO permit yet? Or is it a CO or
occupancy? Yes.
Occupancy permit.
No, he's not done construction yet. So, and if that's a hang up, you can hold that, so he couldn't turn it into a rental until that was repaired.
There's some leverage there, Michelle, maybe.
Ian? You're muted. There you go.
Sorry, I have some things now. Following up on Joel's thing about the dump, Joel, do you have a suggestion? Do you want that redone?
I was going to go over tonight and check it. I didn't.
I was there over the weekend, Joel. It looks awful. I mean, it's not, the seed's not taking, and I don't know why. It just looks like bare ground, patches.
I mean, it's probably going to be bare ground after Acorn comes in, but I don't know when they're coming, or if they don't come in until late, after the frost, and so.
Yeah, I'm not sure that all those sections are where they're going to be.
Right.
Yeah. I have a question about
I
that.
thought he was going to put some topsoil down, but he didn't. He just barely raked it and threw some grass on it and probably seed.
No,
Do we ever bush hog the side hill?
What's that?
Behind the baseball field, right? That hill that goes down there. Does that ever get bush hogged?
I thought we'd brush hog that whole area. I was once a year, don't we, Eric?
Yeah, usually.
Because I was gonna say, whoever does it, if they do it, tell them to watch out for the baseballs, because I can tell you, we tried to find baseballs that get hit over there, and the grass is so high.
Well, I found three the other night.
Some white-faced hornets, so whoever does it, be careful.
I found three the other night.
It's so high and thick.
Michelle, tell Chad I found a couple three the other night.
I'm sure you did. There's a ton down there.
Yeah, so I thought, boy, these solar panels are really going to catch it.
They haven't hit them that far. Most of them have been in the hill, but.
Well, I found some right in the flat spot.
Yeah, I thought we had brush hogged it before, but.
They're supposed to be tough enough to take it.
I just want to tell Joel that we did put topsoil down there. We put down about 28 yards of topsoil down there.
Okay.
So Eric, regarding that, do you have a suggestion? Do you think the work should be redone? Do you know why it didn't take and why it still looks patchy?
My guess is the seed didn't take because when he did it, we were in that dry spell, and he did mulch it. I saw him go down with a mulcher and mulch the areas.
He did water it too, because I saw him one day watering it.
He did water. He got water up to the shop. So
okay.
I'm guessing it was because of the dry spell that we had.
I was thinking the same thing, Eric. I'm just saying that we'll give it till maybe it cools down in September and maybe touch them again. Try to get some.
Okay.
Sure. If the seed's there, it should germinate. It won't spoil just because it's dry. When it gets wet, it should germinate.
Yeah, it should be some grass start coming.
I have two things for Eric. Eric, have you reached out to Hendy regarding the drainage for the Hatch building?
No, I'm sorry, and I haven't.
That's okay. I just want to keep that on, just so he has an option to do it instead of coming to us complaining because the sidewalk was done a certain way.
Right.
And also
keep on me on that.
Okay. And also Eric, the list of projects, have you gotten anywhere on that in terms of presenting that to us?
I sent a copy to Valerie.
Okay.
Yeah, he did send that to me, and I'm working with him on, we're working together on that.
Yeah,
okay,
we're working
awesome.
on a spreadsheet or something there, she said.
Okay, great. And then one other thing I remembered, I had a couple people email me about the brightness of the new lights on Main Street. And I've sort of explained to people that, there was a change. They used to be a warmer color because they were older lights, and the decision was made to match what was in the park and match what was in the intersection and on Prince Lanes. And so that's a bright, because it's a different Kelvin rating, it appears brighter. They're also, because they're newer fixtures, it probably will be brighter. But some people were concerned that they were too bright, but I said that, I worked very hard to make sure that it wasn't a blinding area, but also for safety reasons, we wanted to increase the brightness a little bit. So hopefully that answered their questions.
Ian, remember, those are LED and not a fluorescent, so that's why they're bright.
Well, the others are LED, but they're probably a different kind of bulb. Like, we actually replaced a lot of.
No, the old bulbs that were in there were not LED.
Yes, they were.
Were
they had been? Yeah, they had been slowly replaced over time. So if you look at the bulb, the lamps that are sitting, it's literally like a screw-in bulb that you would have for your home light. It's much brighter, but so hopefully the bulbs in there are of a much higher quality, and that's also why they're brighter.
Okay. All right, Michelle, my last thing is, I think the chief is listening and I would like him to respond to he's had some, if you don't know, he's got some good news for the town. So I don't want to bust his bubble. Chief, are you listening? He was.
No, I'm on the phone.
Okay. Go ahead and tell what you said.
Yeah, sure. Well, no, I wasn't expecting to speak this evening. This is not on the agenda. But if the select board members were not aware that the town of Bristol and their fire department were the recipients of the Assistance to Firefighter grant this year in the amount of $126,000. We received that award notification last week. So certainly newsworthy, and wanted to ensure the board was aware that the town is going to receive these funds.
And Chief, that will be used for?
The grant was specifically to replace what are called self-contained breathing apparatus, those air bottles you see on a firefighter's back, those packs, those frames. That's what that money is for.
Great. Congrats on that.
Yeah.
Can you say that now one more time? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's the Assistance to Firefighters grant. It's a federal grant, very competitive. And this is the first time the town of Bristol has ever been awarded this grant. So it's very exciting. Like I said, it's very competitive. So, but if you're successful, you're talking large dollar amounts. So.
And these were air packs that were scheduled to be replaced a few, and one on the list to replace, and the town would have to pay for them.
That is correct. We are in
15 plus years old.
We are in the fiscal year on our capital equipment plan to replace the department's 15 SCBA units. So the timing of this is amazing. So there will need to be further discussion with the board regarding those capital equipment funds that are designated for this purchase. And please don't, I might as well put this out there. So the $126,000 is not the entire award for which we applied. I don't have the application in front of me. I think it was between 140 and 150. You folks know because you signed the application, but there's a 5% match. It's like $5,000 or $6,000. We can anticipate spending. If I was just to throw a number out there tonight, between $10,000 and $25,000 of that designated capital money to make the complete purchase. But again, more to come. The town hasn't even accepted the grants yet. I'm working with the treasurer, and I know Valerie's in the loop on this to get that done. So more to come.
And there's more information about this on the website under tonight's meeting agenda materials and in the town administrator's report.
Wonderful. Thanks, Valerie.
Thanks, Chief.
Because it is great news. And
Thanks, Brett.
everybody deserves a lot of credit for accomplishing this because it is very hard to get.
Yeah. No, and it was a team effort. There was several people involved in pulling this information together for that final submission. So yeah, I know I'm very thrilled and excited beyond words, and I think it's just a big win for the town.
Right. Thank you, Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
Good job.
Thanks all.
Thanks.
Speaker, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Apparently there's been a lot of talk about the trail network on Front Porch Forum and that, and we sold that piece of property to Stan Livingston, and he's very concerned about a trail going across his property without him knowing about it. So I just want a heads up that, if they're thinking the trail is going to go down over there and it's going to encroach on his property, he ought to be kept in the loop.
Are you talking the trail network, Peter, or the sidewalk, the proposed sidewalk that we got a grant?
Not the sidewalk, the trail. Well, he's concerned about the sidewalk, but that's going in the right of way of the road. So he says he doesn't have any qualms with that. but the trail that goes down over Stony Hill properties and down around and ties into the one on that comes around the river behind Lathropes.
Okay.
I didn't think, I mean, I don't know anything about that. I thought the trail that they were talking about was can continue along the river, along the town's property. I didn't know there was any discussion about
does.
going
So
anywhere near Stan's property.
So the scoping study has three different alternatives. The first alternative, which is the most expensive, is one that follows Stony Hill Road going up, and that's about $1.5 million to put in. So that's probably not going to be one that we investigate further.
But that's the
Two other
sidewalk. That's the
Correct.
sidewalk, not the trail.
No, I know. I'm getting there.
Okay.
So it's that was a sidewalk, and this is still part of the scoping sidewalk or a way to traverse to get up to the top. So alternate 2 and 3 go through Livingston's land, and it's more of a trail. It's not part of the Bristol Trail Network. It's just a proposal in this scoping study. It's nothing more. And I know that Dayton of Du Bois and King has been in contact with Stan. And so I think what he saw in Front Porch Forum was probably the discussion about that scoping study and not the trail network. I know that Porter if she had any plans to put in a trail down there through his property, she would have already spoken to him about that. And I know that she's spoken to him probably many months ago, and he was interested in trails, but I know he's still developing that. But it's probably what he's seeing is the scoping study and those 2 alternatives that were presented. But all of that, the town is going to be working. If we go ahead and pursue that, we would talk to him and speak to him about that, and obviously get his permission to do that and work with him on that. It's not something that we're trying to go around him or trying to, that's not part of it.
He was a little excited that this proposal was out there cutting through the center of his property, and
I can imagine he would be.
Yeah. Like you said, Ian, he intends to develop it. He doesn't know where anything's going yet.
Right.
And so he was, the last thing he wants, and I have to tend to agree, is a trail through the center of his property that would affect where he could put his houses, which I don't think we have the right to do at this point.
No, and a big part of that scoping study is Du Bois and King, the engineers sort of working on that, is sort of figuring out how do you maintain a fairly even grade going through and getting a path up there. So we know that the very expensive option is probably out just because of the sheer cost. And even with that one, you still have some pretty heavy grades. The 2 alternatives did go through land, goes through various property owners. And it was just, that was the clearest way to sort of get a path that would maintain a good distance. And again, it's not something that's going to happen. Again, this is just sort of a concept. And if the concept was approved and we wanted to move forward, then it would you'd start to work with landowners and things like that. That's correct, all right?
Yes, and I've spoken with him directly about this, and so did Dayton Kreitz from Du Bois and King. I believe they spoke directly. I know that Dayton made several efforts to reach him by phone and otherwise, and definitely by email. We've each emailed Stan information about this project, and we completely understand that he does not have a concept in mind for what might happen there, and totally respect that. We did make every effort to keep him in the loop on this, and at least plant the idea that if and when he does move forward with something, that there might be a potential for some sort of pathway alignment through his project that complements what he wants to do, as well as provides a benefit to the neighborhood. So something that maybe can be just thought about ahead of time and integrated, or not. We just wanted to plant the idea of the possibility, but certainly nothing is, it's all conceptual.
Okay. And now
Just
we know
pass it
it's
on.
Front Porch Forum.
Well, he did. It was his sister-in-law turned him on to Front Porch Forum. Said they were talking about his land. So.
I don't remember seeing that on Front Porch Forum.
That's good.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm good. I remembered all 3. I'm happy.
Good. Okay, and I don't have anything. Town administrator's report.
Nothing to add.
Okay. Correspondence reports, correspondence received. Anything in there we should be?
Just to acknowledge the resignation of Randy Duran from the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
And I'll be coordinating with Conservation Commission members to try to put together some sort of inspiring communication out to the public to inspire people to be interested in working on they're volunteering on the Conservation Commission.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Randy for his time on that. He was a great
Yes.
member.
Yes,
Put
he
in a lot
was.
of time. Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. Executive session. I know we have to talk, we have to talk personnel. Anything else other than personnel?
Not that I'm aware of. I'll leave it up to Bruce if he wants to participate briefly in part of that for tonight with an update.
Will you, okay, do you want to you'll send a new
Sure.
meeting notice? No?
Sure.
Okay. I'll make a motion. We move into executive session to discuss personnel matters per 1 VSA section 313.
Second.
Any discussion?
One.
All those in favor? Say aye. Yeah. Any opposed? Okay.
Okay.
So we'll
Ian,
be in-
Ian, when you get the password,
Yeah.
ID, would you?
Will do.
Me? Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Good night.
Thank you.
See you in a
Good
minute.
night, everyone.
All right.